Over on this channel, we're a big fan of the mutants in Marvel Comics. We love the X-Men, we love the Brotherhood of Mutants, and we cannot wait for them to be added to the MCU. This is something that everybody's been waiting for a very long time, and Kevin Feige is addressing the topic a lot more than he usually does, so I reckon we'll be seeing him maybe in phases 5 at the earliest, 6 or 7. I think that's a good time to introduce him.
Yeah, I'd love to see him soon, but obviously that's not going to happen. It's a thing that I think needs to be built up over a few films, with the mutants being introduced one by one in other people's films.
I can't imagine when the X-Men do come into the MCU, they're going to leave out Magneto. Like, that's just not going to happen. Everybody loves Magneto. He's top tier for me.
He's one of the best Marvel villains there is.
Yeah, definitely. We're not going to talk about how we hope the mutants are introduced in this video too much, and we're not going to be talking too much about how to build them up in the MCU, but I do think they need building up throughout the next 2 or 3 phases, and then ease it into the mutant storylines, because they're really heavy topics, and Magneto's at the centre of all of those.
Yeah, he's a huge character in the comics, and obviously as the big bad of like the whole mutant storyline, it'd be impossible to leave him out.
If I'm completely honest though, I'm kind of hoping maybe he's not the big bad.
I don't want him to be the big bad, but he is the main villain of the X-Men.
Obviously, we've spoke about this a lot. We're hoping that the next big bad is going to be Doctor Doom. But I think after that, when the mutants start to come into the MCU, maybe have a villain, then Magneto as kind of like the Ultron of the mutants, and then after that have the Thanos of the mutants. I'm not sure who that could be. Probably Apocalypse or somebody like that. But whoever plays Magneto in the MCU is obviously going to have to go up against Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender's performance. And we basically just want a good Magneto. Like, we want this Magneto to be really good and set itself apart from those 2 performances. I reckon the MCU could birth a better Magneto.
Yeah, the MCU is good at bringing in characters from other franchises and making them their own, or making them even better than they were before.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can do the same with Magneto and all the X-Men and the mutants from before.
I think we owe Kevin Feige a lot for that. You know, it's his patience, his control, and he's willing to build them up and be patient with it, and that is what the MCU's strong point is.
Especially with characters like Thanos.
Yeah.
You know, he's built up over all the Avengers films, and he is one of the greatest villains in the MCU. Well, probably the greatest villain in the MCU.
I would say he's the best. I'd say it's the best. And it's quite evident that they didn't exactly know what they were doing with Thanos. Like, they put him there, and then they had him there, and then they were thought, you know, we could do something with this, and then they knew what they were doing. It was like that. They probably planned Thanos to be the big bad. You know, obviously, there was a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of build-up, but you can tell that they were kind of winging it. So I think with better planning, you know, Magneto could be amazing. If Thanos was good, from them winging it for a few years, you know, Magneto will be amazing. So our main casting for Magneto, we've been doing this for a long time. Together, we've casted all the relevant X-Men villains and heroes, so we've put a lot of thought into this, and we've agreed that our favourite casting for this is Anthony Head. Anthony Head is the best choice for Magneto because he is amazing at playing these evil, villainous characters who are like angry and controlling. When I was watching The Stranger, I came up with this. It was a specific scene, and I won't go too much into it in case anybody wants to watch that show.
Okay.
But it was in that scene where I looked at him, and for some reason, it just clicked in my head that that's Magneto. I imagined him in the get-up. I thought he'd look amazing in that costume, and he looks a lot like Magneto in the comics.
I haven't seen The Stranger, but I watched the clip of it. Might have ruined it for myself a little bit. I don't know, it just really solidified your casting for me.
I think he's very capable of doing it. He voiced Alfred in Batman Gotham by Gaslight in 2018. Earlier in 2012, he played Benedict in the perfect Ghost Rider 2. Can't fault that film. He was in Doctor Who Infinite Quest in 2007, but earlier than that he played Mr. Finch in Doctor Who, and even earlier than that he played Valentine in Doctor Who Death Comes to Time. And obviously, you know, these aren't like superhero projects, but, you know, there's the same sort of genre, you know, it's science fiction. It comes very close to the superhero genre. And also, I thought I'd mention it because later on in the video, we are going to be talking about someone who actually played Doctor Who. So I thought I'd throw this in because I thought that was only fair. He's also been in a ridiculous amount of Buffy the Vampire Slayer projects.
He was in the main cast. He was in the main cast, and he was a big character, apparently. He's won a Saturn Award for the best supporting actor.
If he won an award, you know, as a supporting character, I reckon he could definitely play a villain in a film like the X-Men. Physical appearance, he looks a lot like Magneto. I mean, Magneto's 6'2", Anthony Head's 6'1", and, you know, he's got the grey hair, he's got the body type, he's got the head shape. It's ridiculous how much he looks like Magneto.
Yeah, like you said, he does really look the part. Obviously, height's not like the biggest determining factor, but it's a good plus.
Yeah, it's like the cherry on top for this casting because he's perfect for this, and I really think he could do a good job.
He's in good shape as well when you look at him.
Yeah, he is in very good shape, especially for his age as well. And because of his good shape and his health, I reckon he could definitely play this character for a few more years, like another decade, definitely.
Another casting that I came up with recently is Pierce Brosnan. Is a huge name, but I think the MCU, being what it is, could definitely get him. I think he looks a lot like the character, but I know you don't feel as strongly about that.
Well, I
Thank
actually looked into it and you proved me wrong. I watched an interview with him and like you said to me, his voice is amazing and it's so haunting and eerie that he should play a villain like Magneto.
He absolutely should. His voice is what determined this casting. It's what made me think it was a great pick for Magneto. He's the right age, he's the right height.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's done a lot of action and drama and even comedies, which can come in useful in the MCU.
Yeah.
And I think it's just great casting overall.
He does look a lot like the character, and I do think he'd look amazing in the Magneto costume, especially like a really comic accurate one.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see that.
And he's no stranger to massive projects either, is he? Like, obviously, he played James Bond.
James Bond.
That is a big role to fill. He did it perfectly. He's a lot of people's favourite Bond. So he's not exactly camera shy. He's not exactly afraid to be in big franchises. Although he hasn't been in many like superhero type projects at all. He did play a character in Mars Attack in 1996. So he's obviously done sci-fi like stuff before. So I reckon, you know, he wouldn't resent the idea of playing Magneto.
And again, Pierce Brosnan is in great shape as well.
If people are watching this thinking that this is a bad idea, I really understand where you are coming from, because at first I did not like this casting, but if you give it a look and watch a few videos, let it grow on you, think about it with an open mind, it might grow on you as well. Just something I'd like to mention, obviously, we do think Magneto's history should stay the same. Like, for a while we were thinking, the Holocaust survivor thing, does that make any sense anymore? You know, because it's been a long time since the first X-Men movies, and it doesn't really make sense for someone who survived the Holocaust to be living this long. But somebody over on Instagram did say something to us, which was very obvious, you know, we should have thought of this. They were like, maybe he has like a mutant gene that makes him age slower or makes him live longer. And we were like, yeah, that's very obvious and good idea. Why did we not think of that? But following on from this point, I don't think personally that it's an issue that Pierce Brosnan isn't actually from the same place as Magneto and the same religion as Magneto, because I think if you're going to stay true to that with the actor also being a Jew and stuff like that, I think it's going to be very, very hard to cast him, and I think that's something that will be very, very difficult to stay true to.
Yeah, definitely.
Another actor that we think would be great as Magneto is Viggo Mortensen. He's most famous for playing Strider in Lord of the Rings. He's a household name and he's got a huge fan base. He's a very well-loved actor. For good reason as well, because the Lord of the Rings films are amazing and he played Strider very, very well. He hasn't been in many superhero projects, and big shocker, he's 5'11", oh no. But I do think he could play this character well. I mean, you came up with this, you spoke to me about this, and it's grown on me. I think it'd be very good. One thing that you have to take into consideration when casting Magneto is who you're casting as Professor X, and who we've cast for Professor X I think would work well with Viggo.
Yeah, for Professor X, we've casted Ralph Fiennes, who's most known for playing Voldemort. Is a bit on the younger side, but obviously I think that works, and he looks all like the character. And obviously, coming from a background like Harry Potter, it's kind of like a similar genre to Lord of the Rings.
It's not exactly fantasy, but it's down the same sort of lines. Like, there isn't much stuff out there like Lord of the Rings. I mean, you've got Warcraft that flopped. You've got Game of Thrones, which people love. It's kind of the same thing. But at a stretch, you can also say like Narnia, Percy Jackson, Harry Potter. So it is the same kind of thing. So I'm sure they would click quite well for that. And they're both huge franchises. So they've both got the same sort of level of stardom and will probably be quite similar in terms of how they view their roles and how they act because of their backgrounds in these huge franchises.
I imagine them having a great dynamic on screen.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think they've ever been in something together before, but that doesn't mean anything. I just imagine them having good chemistry.
Yeah, I completely agree, yeah.
I was reading into Viggo Mortensen because I wasn't sure, having not been in many superhero films, I was thinking, is he one of those actors that doesn't like comic book movies? So I Googled it, I did a bit of research, and he has said he's not against them. He's just been busy when he's been offered a part in one. For example, he was almost in a Superman movie. I think it was Man of Steel. And he almost played Wolverine in X-Men. That's so different to Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Hugh Jackman was the very last resort for him, wasn't he? They asked him to get in shape in 3 weeks. Like, that is not a lot of time to look like Hugh Jackman. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. He did say as well that some of those roles are quite interesting, and I think Magneto is a role he would 100% find interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Magneto is a complex character, and the best thing about Magneto, a lot of people will agree, he's right in so many ways, what he's fighting for is right. He's just an extremist. Stan Lee, when he created him, said he didn't view him as a villain. Because so many things that he's fighting for are right. He's fighting for the right thing. He's just doing it wrong. He's violent. He doesn't see a way of promoting diversity for mutants without violence. He thinks he has to win this war, whereas Professor X doesn't see it as a war. He knows that he just has to win over the public and prove to him that mutants are good. He's a very, very, very good character, and Vigo would probably love him.
Yeah, I definitely think so. He's quite a dramatic character, Magneto is. And obviously, all these actors we're casting have been in dramatic roles, especially Vigo, who was literally nominated for Best Actor in Green Book the other year. So he's definitely an actor I think could pull off the most dramatic version of this character that could be.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing with Vigo as well, he's a funny guy. Like, he's a funny guy. Like, I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings. I've watched a lot of interviews with Vigo. And there's a bit where he gets like a 15-20 minute break, and they say like he can go like eat his food. And he just bolts to his tent where he's staying, picks up a fishing rod and runs past everyone. Everyone's like, where are you going? And he's like, I've got to go fishing. And like, you ain't got enough time. And he was like, I've just got to get down here quick before anyone tells me to go back. He runs down there and there's these guys filming him when he's just fishing, and it's hilarious. And a lot of other people on set, they had this inside joke where they just walk up to each other and just headbutt each other. That was their greeting. They headbutted each other. And Vigo found this hilarious. So he could definitely pull off the comedy aspects as well. Because I imagine in the X-Men, because they're going to take up a big chunk of the MCU, there's going to be a lot of comedy. Especially with characters like, like Nightcrawler, like younger versions of Cyclops, people like that.
Especially if they start out with Magneto being kind of on the young side, they could like show off that friendship between him and Xavier. Yeah,
there's got to be some sort of banter between them two, aren't there, to show that they were friends. In the original X-Men films, they're pretty serious, but still.
Yeah, you have those moments between Professor X and Magneto where it shows they were friends, they were great friends, but obviously there's been a lot of turmoil since then.
Yeah, well, there has been, but still they're friends. They are friends. That's the thing, and I think that's why. I mean, obviously, Magneto's found ways around it, but even if he was still susceptible to mind control, I reckon Professor X wouldn't exactly want to do that to him because they're still, in a way, friends.
It's the same as how he still don't like to mind control Juggernaut, even though it's probably one of the only ways to stop him in most cases.
I mean, Juggernaut is evil, isn't he? Like, he's just one of those characters who's evil because he's evil. He's born evil. His nature's evil. But still, Professor X withholds that because he doesn't want to defeat him that way or abuse his power that way. So obviously, he's not going to want to, like, make Magneto, I don't know, shoot himself or something. Like, he's not going to want him to do that.
Yeah, definitely not. He'd never do that.
We haven't had too much to say about Vigo, but we really wholeheartedly believe in this casting and would absolutely love to see it on the big screen.
So another casting we have is Peter Capaldi. I think he looks a lot like the character, but I do have my issues with it. Peter Capaldi's Scottish, and I don't think I've ever seen him do an accent other than Scottish. So that might be a bit of a problem when it comes to playing Magneto. But you never know. If you give him the benefit of the doubt, he could do that. But apart from that, he's a great actor. He definitely looks the part, and he is familiar with roles like Magneto.
You came up with this one, and you said it to me. You was unsure about it. This was recently. This was very recent, actually, about 2 weeks ago. You said to me that you weren't sure about it, Peter Capaldi, and I love this. Like, I've got a lot of stuff to say about this one. Peter Capaldi played the 12th Doctor for a very long time, and he's my second favourite Doctor, just under David Tennant and just above Christopher Eccleston, which would be great to have him in an MCU role, because then we'd have Kilgrave and that weird elf from Dark World, whatever he was meant to be, and then we'd have Capaldi in an MCU role as well. He's playing a character in Suicide Squad next year. I highly doubt that he will be Scottish in that. He's probably going to be putting on an American accent, isn't he? So next year we might be able to see him trying out a new accent, see how good he is at that. But obviously he's accepted recently, very recently, because this film's coming out next year, that he'll be in a superhero film, and he might even be a villain in this, because it's Suicide Squad. There's only really going to be villains in it. He might be really good. He might be amazing in this film and convince a few people who might not like this casting that he would be a great Magneto. I know this is a bit of a stretch, but he's obviously also going to be close and probably be friends with James Gunn. If he's got these ties to James Gunn, who's obviously directing Suicide Squad, he has ties to Disney, he has contacts in Disney. This could be a possibility. I doubt it, to be honest, but I reckon he would be a great Magneto. He hasn't been in much that would support this, but Suicide Squad next year is a game changer for this casting, I think. it could be a terrible film, but he might have an amazing role. I'm sure this one will probably be better because James Gunn's directing it, but this could be a game changer for this casting.
I would like to be proven wrong of my doubts, because he is a fantastic actor, so I'd love to be proven wrong.
Another thing as well, like I said, is my second favourite Doctor. There's a lot of Doctor Who's, so that's saying a lot about his acting capabilities. He's funny. He's so funny in that show. So, an MCU role, this dramatic yet comical universe, I think he would be a perfect fit for that. So the final one we'd like to mention is actually one that I really like, and I know you like it as well, but we uploaded this onto our Facebook and Instagram, and oh my god, people did not like this one. People did not like this one. Giancarlo Esposito, I think he's perfectly tailored to this role. He played Gus Fring in Breaking Bad, and this is what made me realise he'd be a perfect Magneto because he's evil. He is so evil. When he plays the evil side of Gus Fring, he is terrifying. Like, there are stories of people meeting Giancarlo on airplanes and being scared of him and letting him go to the toilet first, and he's like, you do know that's Gus, that's not me. And they're like, yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm just so scared. Like, genuine stories of people being scared of him in real life because of his role in this show. He is a cold-blooded killer, and he's just downright evil and terrifying. He's terrifying. So he would be really good for a dramatic Magneto. He played Lex Luthor in the recent Harley Quinn animated series. He played a character in The Mandalorian, so obviously a relationship with Disney. He voiced Black Spider in Batman Assault on Arkham in 2014, and he also voiced Ra's al Ghul in Son of Batman in 2014. So he is very equipped to play in this role. The only reason a lot of people hated him on our social media is because he's black. Like, that is genuinely the only reason why. People hated it for that reason. They didn't like the idea that there could be a race swap. And I do get that, because Magneto's story is very centered around the fact that he's a Jew, that he's white, you know. I get why people don't like the race swaps. Like, race swaps can be amazing, like Nick Fury in the MCU, Deadshot in Suicide Squad. But for this one, I understand why not.
He's a fantastic character actor. He's played many villains in many different things. So obviously, he definitely has the acting capabilities to play Magneto. So it's such a shame that Magneto's a character whose background and legacy is so important to his character. It's a shame. It really is a shame.
It is a shame. He would look so cool in the outfit.
He'd look so good.
On a bit of an unrelated note, like, this is a big part of why I would cast him as Magneto. But obviously, in the grand scheme of things, for other people, this probably won't mean anything. We are massive fans of Breaking Bad and have cast a lot of Breaking Bad actors in Marvel roles. We've cast Bryan Cranston as Green Goblin, Aaron Paul as Electro, David Costabile as Dr. Octopus, and Dean Norris as The Thing. So if these four actors did get those roles, having Esposito as Magneto would make a lot of sense for chemistry. Like, I highly doubt, you know, Norman Osborn, Electro, Dr. Octopus, and The Thing are going to be in the same room as Magneto. But it's like, if they ever did interact, they would be perfect. We're very sure that there are many actors out there who could play Magneto. I have no doubt in my mind that there are so many unknown actors, or actors that we just don't know about, who could play Magneto very well. But these are our 5 favourite ones, which we'd like to mention. Just to keep this video short, we didn't want to talk about many others. If you do have anything to say about this topic, please leave a comment down below, and we'd love to get back to you down there. We have many X-Men videos to come, which we could talk about your castings in them. So if you do want to see those videos when they come out, subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on. Thank you guys for watching this video. We hope you did enjoy, and we hope to see you again on The Facts with JJJ.